What's up, everybody? We are back. John Delarose here, the leading Hispanic voice in science fiction. Before we get to this review, I want you to hit that like and subscribe button. We are just building this channel. Hit 1,500 subscribers over the weekend and are growing fast because of our awesome comic book content that nobody else delivers. So we're having fun. We are doing cool things. It's very different than a lot of other channels, and I think you will enjoy it. So do that. All right. So this is Vestige, or I like to mispronounce it, Vestige, like prestige, right? The story of this book is basically Ethan Van Sciver, the YouTuber guy who sometimes makes comics, has a group who follows him and are very, they can be spurgy. And this is the group that follows him. That's it. I don't know. What do you want me to say? I'm here to review the book, but they did put their little logo right on the back of it. And this is CG only, meaning they're only for Ethan Van Sciver's promoted works, basically. And that's what's happened over like the indie comic community. Is it's kind of like gone into this like super tribalistic, you're on my team or you're off my team, and that's it. And the reason I got this to review this is because honestly, nobody out there is going to give you honest reviews of any of these books. I've looked around, and it's a lot of people who are just like, oh, I love this book, but I don't want to say anything bad about your book, Zach. Like things like that, and I find that to be cringe. So I'm going to give honest reviews, and I will call it when it's good. I'll call it when it's bad, and that's what I will do. Now, of course, this one is, the cover's drawn by Ethan Van Sciver. Inside, it's by a guy named Gat Hanzo and Donald DeLay. And I will preface this as Donald DeLay has been just an awful person to me. And so I am not a huge fan of him because of just the way he's treated me. Gat Hanzo seems to be an all right guy. He's focused on the work and all that. Ethan's cover is a little disproportionate. We got a weird proportions on the girl here. I'm not sure how much time he actually spent on this, and a very manly face, which is unfortunate because I don't know, when you're going to get somebody like that to do a cover, really you would hope they'd put their best foot forward on the work. Awkward pose, strange proportions, manly face. That didn't sell me on the book. Like I said, I was just interested in potentially reviewing this. But here we go. All right, the inside's what counts for a book anyway, not the random guy who did a cover. All right, so we have this beautiful spread. Actually, this first page is excellent. I love setting pages like this. I don't know that I'd dedicate a whole page to a setting, because this is really just an establishing shot, right? Usually I just do a top corner or top bar for an establishing shot and really dive into the story right away. And I save a splash like this for something really interesting happening. However, that said, very nice art all the way around on this page. Donald DeLay drew beautiful buildings with some really good perspectives to it. I love the lighting and the coloring on this that gives the feel of that like sort of like end of the day as the sun's going down. The shadows are very nice, very, very nicely rendered at the bottom. Good stuff. So a strong start, at least in terms of the drawing. Not much being told about the story just yet. We get some exposition right away. So we're just learning that we're in London, 1892. Now, when I immediately saw London, 1892, I was like, oh, this is going to be a Jack the Ripper story, isn't it? Because almost every comic that sets in London around this time period ends up doing a Jack the Ripper story. And that's why when I made a book, did not do a Jack the Ripper story in this time period, just because I'm kind of sick of the concept. Jack the Ripper was in 1888, and I will get a little bit back more into that later. But it starts off with a dock worker, and he's just loading stuff, and then he goes for a drink at night. Interesting character introduction. A little bit too much exposition, little heavy on the dialogue. That really doesn't seem to have too much of an impact on the story. Would have pared that back a little bit. And there's one thing that's really obnoxious about the lettering, which I will mention. This is a very common amateur lettering problem. but they put, you see the way, if I can get it to focus, see how it says, Christ, this heat is unbearable. You see how the eyes have the little crossbars at the top and bottom like that? It looks funky when it's in the middle of a word like that. You'll notice that every comic that's done professionally does not have those little crossbar eyes in it. So what happens is they take out those eyes. The only time that eye is used is for the actual word eye, because it's in a different spot. And when it's alone, it looks better to have that than to not. But right here, you see it just makes the text look kind of wrong. And that's something that's throughout this issue, so you really can't change it. The other thing I don't like about the lettering is that you've got these like big text boxes here, and you got like blue text boxes here, and this is like a just plain narrator in this text box, and this is actually his thoughts in this text box, and there's times when like actually multiple of these will be on the same page, and it gets very confusing this way. I would rather just have thought balloons for these if you're going to have the narrator. You almost don't need the narrator at all. If you would have just taken this out and you just have, you've got an establishing shot up top. This is another establishing shot. So the first page really is kind of pointless because you've got a secondary establishing shot right here. Could have started the book right here without any issues. And just put like London 1892 at the top and just gone right into it. Just a quick paring down, and that's typical of a first work from what I see, and this is a first work. However, not a bad start so far. He goes into the bar. The guy gets into some roughhouse troubles with the guys at the bar, and the story is very interesting from here. It held my attention at this point. Very odd angle with the punch there. See how his arm extends a little too far. And it looks kind of funky at that point. A lot of weird angles and weird things like that happening with Delay's art throughout this entire book. Some of it's good, some of it's like hit and miss. But you expect that from an amateur book a little bit. And a nice page here where it sets things up. So now our character has run on his luck. He's down on luck. He's really hard, and then it sets up for the next page. We see a beautiful girl shows up, and he finds these. This dagger, and he isn't sure about it. He has strange dreams about killing and all that, and then I'm really sure it's Jack the Ripper at this point, right? I'm like, oh geez, Jack the Ripper, here we go. But it takes off nicely at this point. The pacing's really good, and the storytelling is all right. It's enjoyable, and we've got these like weird dreams going on, which we're not sure what they mean. All right, then we get into this. This is part of the dream. And we find out that the dagger is like one of a lot of different items. And the items are like these supernatural items, and they all belong to different people. But see how the lettering, again, is just spread all the way across the page. Makes it hard to read and know what to read. And moreover, this is all just exposition stuff. So until these items actually show up in the book, you could have just done this with a panel saying, there are thousands of items that are, or a dozen items that are magical, and this is one of them. You didn't really need a double page spread to show this. This is almost like an informational page at the back of a book, and just slowed down the pace because you're in the middle of this funky dream, and this is just didn't really have much of an impact on the story. It sets up the concept for the story, but you really don't need the exposition to do that. And again, it's a first effort kind of thing that an editor would have caught early on. All right. After the dream, it transitions to this girl who's the girl on the cover. And actually, Delay draws her better than Ethan Van Sciver did. So she actually looks like a woman here, and I appreciate that. So she's a sharpshooter, an assassin, and she's in this western town. So we introduce to her. Very cool. Again, just like a bunch of text that really doesn't matter all that much. And we could have pared that down a little bit. And we have this same thing where there's two different types of dialogue boxes at the top. And this is like, it's just messy looking in amateur lettering again. Probably would have cut this out. And then you don't need this many words in a panel at this point in a modern book. So, But cool, we get into action. She's killing stuff. This is actually the best part of the book. And then somebody actually knocks down the tower she's standing on. This is pretty cool. Donald DeLay actually does a really good job of the buildings and settings and things like that. So if you look at what he does there, those all look very nice. Sometimes the figures can look a little awkward, but his backgrounds are very nice when they're there. And we get some more action with her. So eventually, after the action with her, she shows up at some like thing. Again, this is just another full page splash that should have probably just been an establishing shot at the top of the next page. It's kind of a wasted page at this point. And this page tells us, instead of showing us, that all these items of antiquity are gathered here, Stonewall Jackson's sword or whatever. Well, we already learned about all these items of antiquity here, so now we've got a double page splash and a splash slowing down the book with all this dialogue across it. That, like, really, she should have shown up in here, and we should have shown her ogling one of the weapons or something like that, or like using one of them, or talking to somebody about one of them, and that way it would have come across as less exposition-y across this. Again, that's just standard editing stuff that you know, I'll hope they take it to heart for the next issue here. So very good action spot, and then this bogs down a little bit, and we just learned that she has an assignment to go to England, and we obviously know that she's going to go track down this guy. So I think this took a little too many pages for setting this up right here, and then of course we get another, just more establishing. So it's like she's going across the Atlantic. Could have probably just taken that entire page out, and then been like, you know, 2 weeks later, London, and then here she is. And it would have worked out a little better. So a lot of extra pages that kind of aren't necessary in the book. But overall, so far we have this guy. We have a very compelling story, despite that, which is the guy with the dagger, and then the girl who's an assassin coming after him at this point. And then stuff really hits the fan with the guy with the dagger. The dagger starts talking to him. Again, I would have pared down all of this to about half the dialogue on the editing level, and it would have helped because you've got so many different text balloons on a page now. You got the white text, the black text, this text, this text. It just looks very messy and clutters up the art, and that could be really pared down. And of course, the lettering. Gosh, this is even right here. Like even in this dialogue box, it's different font than this dialogue box. So, you know, just stuff to do that's very easy to change. Okay, so he starts realizing there's an issue with the whole deal. He's at a bar. Some guy starts to talk to him who seems like he's creepy. And our gal shows up. Now, our gal, like I said, Donald DeLay's art is not consistent. Remember how pretty she was in the Western? Let me try to zoom this on here. All right, definitely does not look pretty here. There was this panel. I don't know if he rushed this panel or whatnot, but again, now she's into weird proportions. She's actually very elongated. You can't tell with the way my camera looks, but in the book, she's very elongated and has a very funky face that doesn't work out so well as far as this panel goes. So, like I said, inconsistent art on Donald DeLay's part. I really liked it back in the Western. I thought this was a beautiful piece. But it goes back and forth. And on this page, it starts to get a little better again. Back to action. And then at the bottom, very funky, like elongate. Like it's almost like they stretched the image accidentally or something like that. There we go. And you see the crossbar eye in the middle of the assignment right there. It just a little lettering thing that would have fixed this very well. And then we find out that the blade was owned by Jack the Ripper, or maybe the blade is the soul of Jack the Ripper. It's not exactly clear at this point. But the lady shows up again, and he doesn't know what's going on. He wants to know what's going on. The lady talks to the knife or whatever, and it's just to be continued. So, not a complete story. Not even really a complete story with an arc, which is a bummer, because I really... prefer to have a little bit more of a fulfilling story where instead of just a show up and introduce sort of thing. And I think that could have been done here. And if they would have dropped, maybe they could have easily dropped maybe 10 pages out of this. and then push the story a little further along so that we have like a little bit of a resolution of some sort at this point. However, it's actually pretty decent for what we got. I like the setup. I like the main character guy. Him dealing with the blade that's talking to him is a very cool thing. The assassin gal is pretty cool. So that does a lot for me actually caring about the book more than I would a lot of other books. So how does this compare to a lot of crowdfunders, right? It's got good and bad. The storyline's all right. The setting is done well. I wasn't pulled out anything like feeling modern with it, which is pretty good. A little heavy on the dialogue and exposition, which is pretty standard for somebody's first comic. I see that a lot. Art is inconsistent, but it's good in places, so it didn't really pull me out of the book at any point, which is good. And the lettering did pull me out of the book. That was a bit painful, but letters are very easy to change up, so that's not a huge deal. So overall, I would say this is a lot better than Cyberfrog. I read Cyberfrog, and there was just no story to it whatsoever. There's a bunch of splash pages strung together, no reason to care about anything. This, you have two characters to care about, and I do care about both of them, and they're interesting. So that's a big plus over that right there. Definitely better than Lone Star. Lone Star really meandered and didn't seem to have a purpose or anything coherent to it. This has a coherent storyline building. I can tell at least they're building towards something, even if I don't know what that is. Makes it hard to judge when you don't have a full, complete story. But that's better than Lone Star on that level. Graveyard Shift. This is better than Graveyard Shift on every level. The art on Graveyard Shift is just atrocious. John Malin really just does a lot of sloppy art. And there's really nothing to care about in that book. A lot of action. I'd say Graveyard Shift might be paced a little bit better than this one, but again, this just beats that again. As far as Bigfoot Bill, I would say Bigfoot Bill, Doug TenNaples' book was better than this. He has consistent art all the way through, consistent tone all the way through. Guy knows what he's doing, and he's story told for 20 plus years, so it makes sense that he knows what he's doing on that front. What else has been in those groups? Common America, Tim Lim's Common America. That definitely beat out this one also. So that, you had a character you care about. You have a good one in that. So this is still beating out the vast majority of prose in this movement so far. I didn't hate the book, and that is a good sign. So little things to take care of, lots of little things to take care of, and I hope the next book, gets some better editing on it, and of course I hope the letterer finds out about the review or something like that, just to change up those little things, just so the story flows a little better. But overall, I'd say I'd give it a 6 out of 10. So, it's enjoyable. It's slightly below average just because there's some amateur errors to it. But there's a good storyline building here, and it all has potential to grow and get better. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with the rest of the series. I know they're going to do another one, obviously, because it's to be continued. I don't know if Donald DeLay is going to do the art or what the deal is with that. But that's my review. So overall, it's good for it's good for an amateur book. For a pro book, I would be a little bit harder on it, but that's what we got. All right, what do you think? Hit that like and subscribe button, and we will be back later.